miss out.
So 50,000 Lele points will equal 50,000 shillings. Yes.
Brilliant stuff. I would say, absolutely. One to go for and one to think about, even as you do. What's the app again, CT?
On the go.
On the go. The On the Go app is where you can actually get this done.
Platform. Yes.
Fantastic. All right. So we're getting into a conversation this hour about, retirement planning for SMEs and why it matters, rather demystifying around that for, small companies and why it matters. Joining us in the hot seat this morning is Jane Lois Kimani. She's the Business Development Manager at SME Retirement Life Assurance. Jane, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Are you okay?
Yes,
good.
Absolutely.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Great to have you in the room this morning. And we're looking at a number of issues today, wrapped around, how you can actually prepare for the future. And so welcome. And as we welcome you into the Situation Room this morning, CT has a proverb that he's going to share. He'll tell you which country it's from. And then we would like you to interpret that according to what you think. Is that all right?
That's okay.
Okay.
We are in the Republic of Zimbabwe.
Aha.
Yeah, and the proverb is a fairly simple one. It's straightforward. And it begins with what Kenyans like saying all the time, God is good. But in this case, you don't respond by saying all the time. The proverb goes on to say, but never dance with a lion. So the full proverb, God is good, but never dance with a lion.
Never dance with a lion?
Yeah, Simba.
Aha.
It's just a dance in a Simba.
Okay. So how I would interpret that is while God will protect you, then you also need to take care of yourself, and you need to have some form of self-proofing. You don't need to take yourself to the danger.
You have put it very well. Excellent. Thank you.
There it is. You can actually take care. You can actually do you have a role to play in this as well.
Yeah.
Sure thing. All right. Getting into the business of it this morning, we're looking at demystifying retirement planning for SMEs and why it matters. So let's start from the end of that. Why does it matter? Let's get an overall view from the work that you do obviously every day when it comes to making sure that small and medium enterprises are actually taken care of. So maybe we can look at now what you do with these businesses, how you protect them, and then we can go into why it matters that they should care about the future.
All right. So maybe first is to recognize that I'm really passionate about employee benefits and maybe specifically retirement planning. And in this case where we are speaking about SMEs, also to recognize that SMEs, we have about 7.4 SMEs, 7.4 million SMEs in Kenya. And that provides about 80% of the workforce in the Kenyan economy. And again, also providing up to about 40% of the GDP. In this case, then it means that we need to go back and look at SMEs, seeing as they're the heartbeat of the Kenyan economy. And that simplifies why we need to think about the SMEs and the employees that are working for those SMEs, which amount to about, I think, 80% of the workforce, which is about 15 million of the Kenyan workforce. So what we do for them at Britam, and especially when it comes to employee benefits and retirement planning, is simplifying the solutions for them, be it what is provided for statutorily, say the NSSF contributions, or even simplifying the private schemes so that then they are able to make decisions towards ensuring that the employees within the schemes, or rather the employees that are employed by SMEs and even the employers, then have a dignified retirement.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's taking care of them. That's what you do every day, essentially taking care of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when we're looking towards retirement, what happens with an SME? Does an SME retire, really?
Yes, they do. But if we look at what's currently happening, so we are coming from an era where before the implementation of the NSSF Act of 2013, where the only fallback was the NSSF contribution, which was pretty much low. So yes, they get to retirement. But of course, we get to those situations where no one really wants to retire because you have any source of income thereafter. And of course, the view that the contributions previously may have been very low. So also the income that you're receiving at that end then is very low. So the situation really in Kenya is now that at that point where you retire, then we form our families as a retirement plan. So you make your family support as a retirement plan, as opposed to a more organized situation where you would be having an organized retirement plan, a scheme that is registered to be able to give you some retirement income when you get to retirement. So yes, indeed, they do retire, but the question is, do they get to that dignified level of retirement? Yeah.
So as an SME, I have a business, I'm doing my own thing, and I realized that as opposed to someone who's employed, they're given the pension schemes that they are given by the places they work, NSSF deductions, statutory deductions and whatnot. But as an SME, it is upon myself to figure it out, to register in a registered scheme to make sure that it works for me. So just how critical is it for SMEs to plan for that life after going into retirement, and not to talk about the black tax that is being peddled out there a lot?
Yeah. I think one of the misconceptions that have been there for a very long time is that retirement planning is only key for big organizations, and therefore there has not been an avenue that really comes and takes care of SMEs or reaches out to SMEs, and that's the change we are looking at Britam, and that's why we've come up with different views on how to handle SMEs at Britam, and we call it the SME Biashara Network. And now we're also coming up with the Elevate Club, also specifically for SMEs, because we realize that these are employees who have been forgotten for a very long time. Yet there are benefits of actually being in a pension scheme, and some of the benefits that the SMEs would fetch from that would actually be the availability of better return and the compounding of interest when the employees get to retirement. There is also to the employer that then the employer enjoys having and retaining talent for a very long time. So you enjoy loyalty, and of course with loyalty what happens is that you grow. So the SME would end up growing because you do not have a very high turnover, seeing as then I do not want to leave this employer that is giving me this very good benefit. The other thing that is there is that to sort that out, then the NSSF Act and the implementation of the NSSF Act has introduced mandatory contributions that then sorts out that problem and introduces the that every employee, including a contractual employee, that needs to contribute to a pension scheme. So that in the end then eliminates old age poverty. Yeah.
Okay, so even as you look at what should you expect when you're looking at the time coming into the future, which is when retirement usually falls, what should you expect that would then make you make certain decisions, knowing that certain things will happen? What should you expect?
Say that again, do.
What should you expect, whether it's an individual or as a business? What should you expect when you look at economic times? What should you expect that should essentially fuel your decision about certain things that you will do to create that nest egg for you for later?
All right. One of the things I would look at is actually whether I would be able to maintain my lifestyle when I get to retirement. And where that forms a really big aspect for me is because it allows me to really set my goals. And even look at what would be my possible then income replacement ratio at that point when I retire. Where am I likely to fetch my retirement income from? Do I have sufficient savings that are able to give me a proper and dignified retirement? And that differs from one person to the next. So while experts will recommend a replacement ratio of between 70 to 80%, such that if I was earning 100,000 at the point that I get to retirement, then I'm able to earn between 70,000 to 80,000, then that can be quite personalized by some factors like at that point when I retire, do I still have dependents? Do I still have children possibly who are in college and I still need to take care of those bills? What are my medical needs at that point? Did I clear my debts at the point that I got to retirement and I no longer have a monthly salary? So really my expectation then falls to what life is this that I would want to live at that point when I retire. Do I want to start a new hobby, possibly travel, play some golf and have some free time? So that determines whether my income replacement ratio then is taken care of by my current savings right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we talk about things like annuity, we talk about drawdowns. What are those and how then do they affect what we do in terms of where an income will come from later?
All right. So we cannot speak so much about saving for retirement today without giving a solution of what is the end goal. So the end goal of saving for retirement or planning for retirement is so that then you're able to fetch a retirement income. And we fetch a retirement income mainly from Kenya through two sources, which is annuities and income drawdowns.
Okay.
And the two solutions are set up to give you regular income. So when you look at annuities, then they're supposed to give you a regular guaranteed income for the rest of your life, for as long as you live. But it's also a very traditional solution that provides that, such that there was the need to introduce the income drawdown, which then now introduces the aspect of I'm able to get a regular income as my money also continues to earn a return. It also provides, the income drawdown also provides a solution in instances where I've attained the retirement age, but then I still have an income, maybe from contracts that I'm working on, or I have an income from real estate, or any other form of savings that I did. So the income drawdown, I can defer it for a certain period of time for me to come and now decide I want to start fetching my retirement income, or I want to fetch it as a lump sum. So basically those two are set up to provide retirement income, and it takes it away from one of, I don't know whether to call it Kenyan or African form of retirement, which is a retirement baby, possible, that then is able to take care of you when you hit retirement age. But then it helps us break that cycle. Because you mentioned earlier about black tax. So what happens is when now we start providing for our families or our parents, then now we call it a name and call it black tax. But the only way then we can break that cycle is if today each one of us who is working then is able to contribute to their own social security, is able to take care of their own social security, and be able to fetch that income in retirement as opposed to depending on family members or even depending on a minimum, which is the former NSSF contribution before the implementation of the Act.
You know what you say makes a great deal of sense. And I'm certain that Britain has programs that would suit the needs of the diversity of people within that particular sector. What are some of these things that you offer? What are some of the solutions that you offer, and how are they tailored to meet the needs of that diversity of people who would probably need a retirement plan?
All right. So at Britam, we have several solutions, and noting that there are people in the formal sector and there are those who are in the informal sector. So when we start at looking at those who are in the formal sector, of course you will find some who are working in organizations that already have set up pension plans. And at Britam, what we do, we manage the occupational schemes that are already set up by such organizations. And we are able to give a good return and make the administration work, and even the fund management for such organizations very easy. But then we also recognize that there are institutions that do not want to get into a situation where they are running the day-to-day and the compliance and administration of pension schemes. It can get complicated, and especially when you think of compliance. And that is how Britam came up and founded the very first umbrella scheme in 2006. That is the Britam Umbrella Pension Scheme. And the Britam Umbrella Pension Scheme then admits employers who are not, or rather, whose interest is not in the financial sector, and they do not want to keep running a pension fund. So the umbrella fund then admits such employers and the employees who are under the employers, and makes it very smooth and easy for them, such that all we do to them is then now report to them what are the returns, come back to them and do value add on. I really think you need financial planning training. I really think then we need to come and look at who is retiring and getting out of, or rather who is transitioning to another role or to their own interests. Then we also come to the informal sector and recognize.
If I may just pause.
Yeah.
When you say that you then, people come up with what it is that essentially are their needs, okay? There seems to be this assumption that there's a certain age at which people retire, okay?
Yeah.
Now, that age is around 60. What if somebody wants to retire at 40?
All right, then if I don't retire at 40, it means that I start setting my goals pretty early.
Yes.
And look at several other avenues. So I might not only look at my employers, already arranged pension scheme or NSSF. I could go and supplement my contributions by doing additional voluntary contributions, either to that employer scheme or to an individual pension plan. But over and beyond that, then Britam being a diversified financial services provider, then there's the option of actually having your funds in money market funds, and we even have investment plans within the Britam Life Company that allows you to supplement your retirement plan, so that then you're not only boxed to the employers and employee contribution within your employment tenure, and that helps you plan that really after 40 I am financially stable to be able to take care of retirement.
Okay, so now under that umbrella plan is where you mentioned previously the NSF tiers.
Yes.
Can you explain to us now then
Yes.
how that falls under this umbrella scheme, and maybe just giving a little bit of a tweak more into that NSF tier 2, and what exactly it means, and then how it fits under this umbrella scheme?
All right. Now, I mentioned about the umbrella scheme, and you will realize it was actually founded even before the conversation on the NSSF 2013, on the NSSF Act of 2013. And I would just say that Britam was found ready. Britam was found ready for
when they made the law.
Yes, yes, Britam was found ready. And The reason for that is because the NSSF Act, Section 21 of the NSSF Act of 2013, then allows a section of the contributions that go to NSSF to be contributed to a private scheme such as the Britam Umbrella Fund. And maybe what I have skipped is that the NSSF Act introduces a two-tier contribution. That is Tier 1 and Tier 2. So Tier 1 is mandatory contribution that needs to go to NSSF. And that one provides the basic level of contribution. And then there's the Tier 2 contribution, which then now introduces a contribution that goes into that income replacement. Remember the income replacement ratio we have discussed?
Yes.
Yeah. It should provide for that income replacement ratio. And that Tier 2 contribution, then now Section 21 of the NSSF Act allows it to be contracted out to a scheme that is approved by the Retirement Benefits Authority to receive such contributions. So that process is what is called contracting out. And the really good thing about, say, Tier 2 and even the NSSF Act is that it provides that diversification of risk such that each one of us who is planning for retirement or who is saving in a pension scheme then is able to get the best of both worlds, of the public sector and the private sector. You have Tier 1 going to NSSF, you have Tier 2 coming to Britam, and then you're able to make your comparison and decide, do I need to supplement my contribution? I also think it helps improve the pension industry and sector because you're moving from a situation where there's only one institution that is running pension funds, and of course it improves the service standards that then would go out to the employers and even to the employees, and while at it ensure that there are proper and prudent returns that actually go to the members in retirement.
You mentioned about the income replacement ratio. Just how important or critical is it?
I don't know if I can overemphasize on how much we need to take care of that. So while we are working, and maybe I don't know that to include City to the conversation.
Yes, please do. But just tell me,
or maybe he can give us advice, you know.
No, include me in the conversation.
I include you in the conversation, yeah. So maybe it's looking at how maybe today I'm able to take care of how I left work and drove to this place, where I live, what activities I'll actually have after work, so be it social or networking activities, and am I able then to achieve that at retirement? Because if I'm not able to achieve that, then it not only becomes a financial problem, but it also becomes a psychological and social problem. Because what happens is, if I'm not able to replace my income, then I'm not able to manage the same lifestyle
That you had
in retirement. And I think that is where we find ourselves possibly looking back to move to the village, and you have no community right there that possibly understands you and knows you, and you have to start creating a community afresh at that age. So not only does it affect us financially, but I would say even psychologically and socially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Preparing for retirement, and that's what we're talking about this morning at an individual level, which feeds into an organizational level, and that's some of the things that we're talking about today. We'll get into more of the nitty-gritty after this break. We're having a conversation this morning with Jane Lois Kimani, who is a business development manager, SME Britam Life Assurance, and we're looking at demystifying retirement planning. We feel as though, you know, this big, huge thing needs to be created at once, but you know, we're chipping away at that and saying that, you know, there are ways in which you can do it, and we'll get more into more of those details when we come back from this break. It's 28 minutes to 9. Situation Room continues after this. I hear you saying that as we go, there are ways in which you can actually start to chip away at this slowly and put something away slowly. It takes some discipline, doesn't it?
It does. It takes a lot of discipline, and maybe that is why when we look at the pension penetration in Kenya, it's still at about 20%. And maybe this is heightened by the fact that more often than not, it has not been a personal initiative before, but more of an employer's initiative. But this is a conversation that would want to move to get to being a personal initiative. Be it that person who is in the informal sector, and I think earlier that's what I was trying to allude to, that this retirement planning that we are speaking about does not only apply to big organizations or to even only to SMEs. It also applies to those that are self-employed. And even the Mama Mboga, how can I have a pension scheme, or rather, how can I be a member of a pension scheme that I contribute, say, a minimum of even, be it 20 shillings a day, or be it 1,000 shillings a month. And that is provided for through the Britam individual pension retirement plan, which then allows you to even start small. So it does not hinder anyone from starting, but more so is what you've spoken of about that discipline. So we find that discipline is not there at the earlier ages. Say when you start working, you're 22, you're 25, it's not there until you possibly hit your 30s, and now you start thinking of, I possibly need to be living in my own home, and I really need to also think of, how do I survive when I get to retirement? So maybe to create that discipline, and especially when you're younger, is starting by saving for other needs, and maybe start saving with small amounts that possibly do not feel like they hurt, so that then you can see what is your progress, maybe after a period of, say, 6 months or 12 months, and you've set a goal. Then after 12 months, if you realize I was actually targeting to get to, say, 50,000 at the end of the year, and I have 25,000 because I only did 2,000 every month, then it leads you to thinking, what if I put in more? How much do I get? And then now the retirement and saving for retirement conversation then becomes very real. So that then you're not finding yourself at 35 and you're in a crash program and you're trying to put away possibly close to 30 or 40% of your salary or of your income. So that discipline should be formed really at an early stage in life.
There is a reality that currently people who would aspire to retire have to face. Children who've never left home, gone to school, have nothing that they do. So instead of you depending on them, they depend on you. Now, that reality, if indeed one were to retire, the pressure that would bring would even be greater than what we understand. So, a reality such as the one I've mentioned, how does one cater for it with the different tiers that you have? Where would that fit in? Where would one need to understand how it is that they can actually plan for retirement with that in mind?
It is actually a real situation, and maybe one of the things is for us to look at retirement planning not only as a savings but also as a legacy that you want to leave behind, and even well at it, because that's a possibility that you have children that will not leave home and you have to take care of them and possibly not take care of your grandchildren. Again, that is where the discipline in putting away funds then comes in, and that is again where your goal setting then comes in with planning for any eventualities. Just like the way you would plan for medical expenses in retirement, then you have to put aside funds for such other eventualities. And then in this case, the contributions that are provided for statutorily then might really not take care of that need. You possibly then need to actually have additional voluntary contributions that supplement that contribution, or rather that supplement that need that you have at retirement. And maybe even before you think, because I might not predict right now that my child will still be in my house when they are 30 or 40. Maybe it's for me to look at it at how do I even save for a legacy that is able to take care of my children and my children's children. Now, the good book says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for their children and their children's children. Yes. Yeah. So while at it, when you're saving for retirement, then the thought is, I'm not only doing this for myself, but I'm doing this for my children and my children's children.
Basically, my generation.
There's something. There's a product that many insurance organizations offer. Britam, I know, offers it. It's what they call an education account, for lack of a better word, for the children. What about an investment retirement plan for the children? Meaning, yes, just as you are contributing to your own retirement, yes, there's the education fund, but a process where you are looking into the future and you're saying, beyond education, this will probably help these children have a takeoff stage at a certain point in their lives when they're still young, and it's something that they can continue with when they're now able to earn. Because that way you yes.
City, we have that at Britam, but it's not an education policy. And I wouldn't say it's a retirement plan either, because it's not yet regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority, but it is called trust funds. So the Britam Trust Funds then allows you to put aside funds, or even put aside, or rather create a fund that then allows you, in a case where either you die too early or you're still alive, you can attach that fund to either your children or your grandchildren, or even in a situation where you're incapacitated and your dependents then really need that fund. So we have the Britam Trust Funds, and it was launched in 2024, not long ago, to take care of such eventualities.
So let's talk about, we have the Britam umbrella fund that is there to ensure that everything is working as expected. But even while at it, there are many options out there. So what makes Britam stand out? As well as, even as I'm planning for my retirement, there is the fact that at that age is when sicknesses start crippling in and checking in. And is there a pension that is clearly targeted towards that by Britam?
All right. I think what makes Britam stand out when it comes to the umbrella plan, I would relate it to the investment returns. And the superior returns that we are able to give. And you cannot underestimate that power of compounding. And especially when it comes to retirement planning. If you look at it, if you're speaking about retirement planning for someone who is 25 years today, or someone who is 30 years today, it means that we'll be handling your funds for the next 30 years. And you're not able to access the funds. So if you look at what we call the 72 rule of compounding, it provides that if you divide 72 by the rate of interest that you aspire to get, then it shows you how fast your funds will double.
Okay.
And that means that if you're looking at Britam, the investment return at an average for the past 10 years is actually at 10%. So that goes to say that if you're 30 today and you have 100,000, for lack of a better example, you have 100,000 today, then in the next, what years? 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, then you should be able to double, even if you're not making any other contribution. So that also goes to say if you have a larger fund, then it will actually double. So we pride ourselves in giving superior returns. The other thing that sets Britam aside is actually dedicated support. So we do not only stick to that, as I said earlier, that we are pushing you to save, but we also come back to you and realize that this is a new statutory contribution that has come to you. It actually means a reduction on your pay slip. So do we come back to you with a value add and take you through financial planning? Because if we just came and took away your money, you really need to know how do I manage these other funds that have remained in my pocket. So we pride ourselves by having the largest relationship team in the pension industry that actually goes out to the customer, and especially to the individual, to the corporate customers, be it SMEs or employers. And over and above that, we also have the largest distribution network, which is also sufficiently trained to be able to either bring the customers on board or even maintain the customers and retain the customers on board and give them the other value adds that are there. The other thing is, am I able to view my funds? Am I able to see if this plan that I have really is working for me? And the only way you can do that is by digitalization. And in this case, then we have the My Britam app, which is on the App Store and also on the Google Store. And once you log into the Britam app and you're a member of the Britam pension plan, be it corporate or as an individual, then you're able to see your statements real time, your contribution, and you're able to make a decision. Do I need to do more? And also as an employer, then in this case, then you're also able to go again to the employer's portal, and the employer's portal then helps you be able to see, are my contributions to my employees really being received, and what kind of investment is happening right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting because you mentioned an app. And so when we think about the traditional ways of saving, Jane, it's usually, you put something in your pillowcase, under your mattress, whatever, or even, put it... I wasn't actually looking at you, but Siti, now that you've given me the permission, I will look at you properly. So, traditional ways of putting something aside, it was in a box somewhere under the mattress, in a hole in the backyard, whatever. But now technology is here, isn't it? So what are we looking at that is current, that you can actually have the same idea at a graduated level, but then in touch with the times when it comes to technology, and then what we're able to do in terms of saving? What have we seen? And what do you offer, essentially, to keep up with the times?
All right, so I've already spoken about the apps that help with self-service, but more over and above that is the availability of even apps that help you with self-onboarding. Because if we are at that stage where all you can do is I onboard you, but you can't self-onboard, then it might take you such a very long time before you decide that now I want to onboard myself to that. The other developments when it comes to technology is the availability of AI, and using AI to the extent of looking at what are the trends. Do I still need to look at retirement planning for someone who is 25 today, the same way I would look at someone who is 55 years today? And then again, looking at what exact communication or rather targeted communication that goes to certain groups. So that's how then AI comes in. Again, in technology, I would say is with technology and maybe even with the onset of COVID-19, must have been a few years back, we've almost forgotten, but it actually introduced to us some very good aspects on webinars, because we are finding that then we are able to spread more awareness to those that do not know about pension, or those that already know and need a reminder that you're able to have an online meeting and they're able to listen through to such conversations. So maybe the technological developments then now would move us from a position of where maybe you would think that you really need to move from, say, Mandera to come to Nairobi to sign off a form for you to access your pension funds. But if really you have a portal or you have an app, then it means that from the comfort of your home or from the location you are at in Kenya, then you're able to make that request, and then you receive your funds from that comfort. Yeah.
Britain has been a leader in this industry for a very, very long time indeed.
Yeah.
How do you actually go about understanding what it is your clients and former clients need?
All right. That comes from client feedback. So being a leader, one of the things that we again boast of is having a large number or a large clientele of retirees, that is those who are in our annuities and the income drawdown, and going back to them to fetch rather what is this that exactly is your experience, so that then we are able to communicate this through the different channels that we have with our existing customers. Then now when it comes to the younger generation, then of course we are able to do surveys either from the customers who are already onboarded or those that we are looking at to onboard, so that then we look at how do we improve our services, how do we improve our standards, and how do we tailor-make solutions that are fit for each generation.
Okay. So we talk about access and penetration at 20%. So how can the government, together with us stakeholders like yourself, push the bar forward in ensuring that penetration and access goes deeper?
All right. Now, I think there are several stakeholders when it comes to that. And when it gets to the government, the Kenyan Constitution provides that it is actually the work of the government to provide social security for its citizens. And I think that is it Section 43? Of the Kenyan Constitution. And that means that, number one, whichever way then the government seeks to ensure that everyone has social security, they need to apply it. So in this case, it could be enforcing laws, just like the enforcement of the NSSF Tier 2. But over and beyond that, the enforcement of the law is use of national platforms to create awareness on the need for retirement planning and the whys about retirement planning. Then comes in the private sector, which again through digitalization and making it simple, making it affordable and providing a simple way of discussing what is retirement planning and the need for it, and actually looking at it from different generations and different walks of life, so that then you're not having a one shoe fits all for everyone. Then comes the individuals themselves, getting to the discipline that we spoke earlier. So the government, the private sector, and even ourselves as individuals, we actually have a role to play towards retirement planning.
So, Jane, somebody's listening today and they're saying, okay, so we've had these conversations, we've heard a little bit here and there about, okay, but never actually been able to start, been on the starting line and has never really gotten out of the blocks. Where do you start? How do you start today and say, okay, fine, I need to start this today. I'm pretty long in the game, but I don't know. What are the first steps that you take towards this?
All right. So I would say the first step is looking at your finances and reorganizing your finances, and even setting a goal. Because if you start saving, or rather even if you start a retirement plan today, but you don't have a goal, then somewhere along the way, it will fall off. And the easiest way then to start off and with Britam, and if you allow me, is to SMS the word pension to the short code 21778. Then one of our financial advisors or the business development executives then will get to you and take you through that. But then again is the realization of how much then you need to start small and to start early.
So even if I know, here I am, I know nothing, blank canvas, don't even know. I just know there's the retirement and it's somewhere there in the future. I just need to send this SMS to 21778.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, just SMS the word pension to 21778 and someone will reach out to you. And we do not assume that you know. We assume we're in a class 2 class and explain the ABC of what you need to do.
Okay. And then in terms of, when you start, and, oftentimes say, okay, like we don't have, how little can you start with? Because that's also another thing that stops people. They're like, okay, I don't have the huge amounts. If I'm earning 100,000 shillings and you tell me that my retirement ratio, income replacement ratio. I was gonna get there. Income replacement ratio, it needs to be between 70-80%, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to do that? How on earth am I going to get there? Are you allowing people start small?
Yes, we do. And we allow you to start saving from as little as 100 shillings as an individual. Of course, if you're under an SME, there are set standards on how much to put aside, which are provided for in the NSSF Act of 2013. But if you're an individual, you can start with as little as 100 shillings. And we say it is the consistency. Because if I put 100 shillings today and I put 100 shillings tomorrow, by the end of the month, I have my 3,000. I do not have 100 shillings anymore. So it is really in the consistency, even where you're starting small. I know there are people who will think of, I'm earning 15,000 today. If you take that away from me, how do I survive? But then again, we get it to the aspect of, it is how you start today. If you put that 500 shillings away today, the 1,000 shillings today, as your income increases, then you've already learned the aspect of saving. You've already learned the aspect of putting away some funds. So as your income increases, then you're able to manage whatever you've been managing and increase on your saving.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And it's little tidbits like that. We get on the journey, you get to the place when you're retiring and it's like you never did. So thank you for sharing this insight with us this morning. It was really great to hear. And at least, you can start somewhere and you can start small, but you get on the journey where you don't have to suffer. So it's great. Jane Lois Kimani is a business development manager, SME Britam Life Assurance. She's been our guest this hour, sharing these great morsels with us today and stuff that we can pick up on. Asante Sana. And good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Dental Tips brought to you by Sensodyne.